I never thought a simple notification on my phone would shatter everything I believed about my family. There I was, sitting in my tiny kitchen in Chicago, exhausted from another long day at work, when Aunt Martha's message popped up on my screen. The video file seemed innocent enough, but the moment I pressed play, my world collapsed. 3 years of sacrificing everything to support the people I loved most, and this is what they really thought of me. The voices were unmistakable, the laughter was cruel, and the words cut deeper than any knife ever could. Before I continue the story, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. And stick around because what I discovered next changed everything about how I saw my family forever. Growing up in the suburbs of Ohio, I always believed family meant everything. My parents raised me, my younger brother Marcus, and my older sister Diana with the understanding that we would always have each other's backs. Dad worked construction, his hands permanently stained with dirt and calluses that told the story of every building he helped create. Mom stayed home managing our chaotic household with the patience of a saint and the organizational skills of a military general. We were not rich by any means. There were plenty of nights when dinner consisted of whatever leftovers Mom could creatively transform into something that felt like a real meal. But we were happy, or at least I thought we were. The house always filled with laughter during family dinners, and holidays brought us together in ways that made me feel grateful for the bond we shared. When I graduated college with my marketing degree, I landed a job in Chicago that offered opportunities I could never find in our small Ohio town. Moving away from family felt like tearing off a piece of my heart, but everyone encouraged me to chase my dreams. Mom cried when I loaded up my beat-up Honda Civic with everything I owned, but she hugged me tight and whispered that she was proud of me. The first 2 years in Chicago were tough. My salary barely covered rent for a tiny studio apartment, but I was building something for myself. I made friends at work, explored the city on weekends, and slowly began to feel like I was creating the life I had always imagined. Regular phone calls kept me connected to home, and every conversation reinforced how much my family meant to me. Everything changed when Dad injured his back at a construction site 3 years ago. The medical bills started piling up faster than his workers' compensation could cover them. Mom called me in tears, explaining how they might lose the house if they could not manage the payments. Without hesitation, I started sending money home. It began with $800 a month for Dad's medical expenses. Then Mom needed $400 for groceries because Dad could not work full-time anymore. Marcus was struggling with his student loan payments, so I added $300 to help him avoid defaulting. When Diana's husband lost his job, she needed $500 monthly for daycare costs so she could continue working. $2,000 every single month for 3 years. I calculated it once during a particularly difficult week and realized I had sent home over $60,000. To make those payments possible, I gave up everything that made life enjoyable. No vacations, no new clothes unless absolutely necessary, no dinners out with colleagues, no weekend trips. I shared my tiny apartment with a roommate I barely knew, just to split the rent. I delayed buying a reliable car and continued driving my old Honda, even when the repairs cost more than the car was worth. But their gratitude made every sacrifice feel worthwhile. Mom would call just to thank me, her voice thick with emotion as she explained how my help was keeping the family afloat. Dad would text photos of his physical therapy progress, crediting my support for his ability to get the treatment he needed. Marcus sent funny memes with messages about how lucky he was to have such an amazing sister. Diana would share photos of her children telling me I was their favorite aunt and that my generosity was giving them stability during uncertain times. Last Friday evening, after another exhausting week at work, I was looking forward to a quiet night at home when my phone buzzed with a message from Aunt Martha. Mom's sister had always been the family's unofficial photographer and social media manager, constantly documenting every gathering and sharing videos of family moments. The message was simple. Thought you might want to see this from last Sunday. Attached was a video file that I assumed captured some sweet family moment from the gathering I had missed due to a work emergency. I was actually disappointed that I could not attend because Mom had been planning it for weeks and everyone was supposed to be there. I settled into my worn couch with a cup of tea, expecting to see familiar faces laughing around Mom's dining room table. Instead, what I saw would haunt me forever. The video quality was shaky, as if Aunt Martha had been recording secretly from another room. The angle suggested she was hidden around the corner from the living room, and the audio was crystal clear. The first voice I heard was Dad's, and the words hit me like a physical blow. She thinks she is so much better than us now living in that fancy city? The casual cruelty in his tone was something I had never heard before, as if discussing my character flaws was just normal conversation. Mom's laughter followed light and careless. Jacqueline acts like some kind of saint, but she is just a pathetic failure who could not find a husband. 28 years old and still alone, sending us money because she has nothing else to spend it on. My hand started shaking as I held the phone closer to my face, desperate to believe this was some kind of misunderstanding. But Marcus's voice came next, destroying any hope of denial. At least we get free money from our spinster sister. She is too stupid to realize we are just using her. I honestly cannot believe she keeps falling for our sob stories. Diana's contribution was perhaps the most devastating because she had always been the sister I looked up to most. I laugh every time she calls asking about the kids, like I would want my children around someone so desperate and lonely. She probably thinks we will invite her to move back home someday, but who wants that kind of pathetic energy around their family? Aunt Martha's voice chimed in from behind the camera, confirming she was the one recording this nightmare. She probably sends money because she has nothing else going for her. No boyfriend, no real friends, just a meaningless job in a city where nobody cares if she exists. I watched the entire 5-minute video 3 times, hoping somehow I had misheard or misunderstood. But there was no denying what I had witnessed. My family, the people I had sacrificed everything to support talking about me, like I was some kind of charity case they barely tolerated. The physical reaction was immediate and overwhelming. My stomach churned with nausea while tears streamed down my face. The cup of tea slipped from my trembling hands and shattered on the floor, but I could not move to clean it up. Every memory of the past 3 years suddenly looked different through this new lens of understanding. I remembered skipping my college roommate's wedding because I could not afford the travel expenses after sending money home that month. I had told myself it was a worthy sacrifice because family comes first. I thought about the winter I wore the same old coat with a broken zipper because Diana needed daycare money, convincing myself that staying warm was less important than helping my niece and nephew. There were countless meals of cheap ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches while I sent grocery money to Mom. Weekend plans canceled because I could not afford to join friends for dinner or movies. A social life that gradually disappeared because maintaining it cost money. I was sending to Ohio instead. Every conversation over the past 3 years took on a sinister new meaning. Mom's tearful phone calls about struggling to pay bills coincided perfectly with due dates. Marcus would contact me right before his student loan payments were scheduled, always with some new crisis that required my immediate help. Diana's requests always came with photos of her children looking sad or stories about how daycare costs were destroying their budget. I realized they had turned manipulating me into an art form. They knew exactly which emotional buttons to press and when to press them. The timing was never coincidental, it was calculated and deliberate. They had studied my weaknesses and exploited my love for them with surgical precision. Sleep became impossible that night. I replayed the video obsessively, analyzing every cruel word and dismissive laugh. The way they discussed me was so casual, as if mocking my life was standard entertainment for their family gatherings. They had clearly talked about this before developing a shared narrative where I was the pathetic outsider funding their comfort. By morning, anger began mixing with the devastation. How dare they treat my generosity like weakness? How dare they mock my choices while benefiting from my sacrifice? The fury felt cleaner than the heartbreak, giving me something to hold on to while my world shifted beneath my feet. Monday morning arrived with cruel normalcy. My phone rang at 8:30 a.m., and Mom's name appeared on the screen. For a moment, I considered ignoring it, but curiosity won. I wanted to see if she would continue the charade now that I knew the truth. "Good morning, sweetheart," Mom said in her warmest voice. "I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I was calling because Diana's daycare payment is due Thursday and things are still pretty tight over here. Could you help us out this month?" The audacity was breathtaking. Less than 48 hours after calling me a pathetic failure, she was asking for money using the exact same sweet tone that had worked for 3 years. I managed to keep my voice steady while my heart pounded with rage. "Of course, Mom. I will transfer the money tomorrow like always." "You are such a blessing, Jacqueline. I do not know what we would do without you. Diana was just saying yesterday how grateful she is to have such a generous sister." Diana, who had called me desperate and lonely while laughing at the thought of me being around her children. The lie came so naturally that I wondered how many other conversations had been complete fabrications. An hour later, Dad sent a text message with a photo of a medical bill. Hey kiddo, hope work is going well. This month's therapy costs are a bit higher than usual. Could you help your old man out? The message included three heart emojis and ended with, Love you so much. Marcus followed up in the afternoon with one of his typical memes, this one showing a cartoon sister hugging a cartoon brother, with text that read, Best sisters make everything better. His message said, Love you, sis. You always come through for family. Each interaction felt like another knife twist. They were not just taking my money, they were mocking my intelligence while doing it. The fake affection and manufactured gratitude was more insulting than their honest cruelty had been in the video. I spent Monday night researching my legal obligations to family members. The answer was clear: I owed them absolutely nothing. Adult children have no legal responsibility to financially support their parents or siblings unless specifically agreed upon in writing. Every dollar I had sent was a gift freely given out of love and obligation I had imposed on myself. Tuesday brought a revelation that made everything worse. I started scrolling through their social media accounts, something I had rarely done because I trusted their words about struggling financially. What I discovered made my stomach turn. Dad had posted photos from a fishing trip to a lake resort 3 weeks ago, the same week he had texted about not being able to afford physical therapy. The resort was expensive, the kind of place that charges $200 per night minimum. Mom had shared pictures of a shopping haul from Target and Hobby Lobby, showing bags full of decorative items and new kitchen gadgets. The date stamp showed it was purchased the day after I had sent grocery money. Marcus's Instagram told an even more infuriating story. Multiple posts showed him at bars and restaurants around town, clearly spending money on entertainment while claiming poverty. One post from last month showed him holding up a new gaming console with the caption, Treating myself because life is short. That gaming console cost at least $400, nearly the same amount I was sending him for student loans. Diana's Facebook revealed the most expensive betrayal. Photos from the previous weekend showed her family at an indoor water park resort, staying in what appeared to be a suite, with the kids splashing in a private hot tub. The resort packages started at $300 per night, and they had clearly stayed at least 2 nights. This happened the same week she had called crying about daycare costs. I calculated the numbers and felt sick. Over the past month alone, they had spent at least $1,500 on entertainment and luxury items while telling me they were struggling to survive. My money was not keeping them afloat. It was funding their leisure activities while I ate ramen noodles and shared a cramped apartment. The pattern became obvious once I started looking. Every month, they would wait for my transfers to clear, then immediately spend money on things they wanted, but did not need. They had turned my generosity into their entertainment budget, lying to my face while laughing behind my back. Wednesday morning brought the moment I had been planning. Dad called at 7:45 a.m., panic evident in his voice. Jacqueline, honey, I hate to bother you, but the mortgage payment is due tomorrow and we are short about $800. Mom is worried sick that we might get hit with late fees. This was it, the perfect moment for the truth to finally come out. Dad, before we talk about money, I need to ask you something. Did Aunt Martha record your family gathering last Sunday? The silence stretched so long, I thought the call had dropped. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. Well, you know how Martha is with that camera of hers. Why do you ask? Because she accidentally sent me the video. I heard everything you said about me. Another long pause, then Dad's voice changed completely. Gone was the warm, appreciative tone. Jacqueline, I think you misunderstood what you heard. Really? I misunderstood when you called me pathetic, when Mom said I was a failure who could not find a husband, when Marcus called me stupid and Diana said I was too desperate to be around her children. You are taking things out of context. We were just venting some frustration, but it does not mean we do not appreciate everything you do for us. The gaslighting was immediate and shameless. Even caught in their cruelty, they were trying to make me doubt my own perception of reality. 3 years, Dad. 3 years of sending you $2,000 every month, $72,000 total, and this is how you really feel about me. Now hold on, Jacqueline. You cannot just stop helping family because your feelings got hurt. We are still your parents and we raised you better than this. The entitlement was staggering. Even after being caught mocking me, he expected the money to continue flowing because he felt entitled to it. The payments stopped now, all of them. I will not send another penny to any of you. You cannot be serious. Your mother will be devastated. Marcus will lose his apartment. Diana's kids need that daycare money. Then you will figure out how to handle your responsibilities like adults. I am done. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. Then I blocked Mom, Marcus, and Diana across all platforms. The relief was instant and overwhelming, like finally removing a splinter that had been festering for years. Within an hour, unknown numbers started calling. I answered one and heard Mom crying hysterically. How could you abandon your family like this? We made one little mistake and you want to destroy all of us. One little mistake, you spent 3 years lying to me, taking my money and mocking me behind my back. That is not a mistake. That is a betrayal. But we need that money, Jacqueline. Your father cannot work full time, and things are really hard right now. Then sell the items you bought with my money. Cancel your entertainment subscriptions. Stop eating out. Do what I have been doing for 3 years to send you that money. I hung up and blocked that number too. The calls continued from different numbers throughout the day, but I stopped answering entirely. Thursday brought the first wave of real consequences. Marcus showed up at my office building, somehow having convinced the security guard to let him into the lobby. My receptionist called to say my brother was downstairs demanding to see me. When I went down, he was pacing frantically, his usual confident demeanor completely gone. Jacqueline, you cannot do this. I already called my landlord to explain that my rent will be late. If you do not send the money, I will get evicted. Then get a second job, move to a cheaper apartment, or ask one of your friends for help. The people you go out drinking with every weekend might be willing to support you. This is not fair. We are family. Family does not mock each other while taking money. Family does not call each other pathetic failures behind their backs. Marcus tried guilt, anger, and desperate pleading, but I remained unmoved. Security eventually escorted him out when he refused to leave voluntarily. Friday afternoon brought a surprise visit from Aunt Martha herself. She appeared at my apartment door looking ashamed and exhausted. Unlike the others, she immediately took responsibility for her role in the situation. I am so sorry, Jacqueline. I never meant for you to see that video. I was recording because I was disgusted by what they were saying, and I wanted proof of how they were treating you. I planned to talk to you privately about it, but I accidentally sent it to the wrong group chat. This revelation stunned me. Aunt Martha had not been participating in the mockery. She had been documenting it. They have been talking about you like this for over a year, she continued. Every family gathering includes jokes about how easy it is to get money from you. They even bet on which story will work best each month. I kept thinking someone should tell you the truth. The betting revelation was a new level of cruelty that somehow managed to surprise me. They had literally gambled on which lies would be most effective at extracting money from their victim. Your mother came up with the idea of coordinating their requests, so you would not get suspicious about timing. She made a calendar marking when each person should ask for money and what reasons to use. Aunt Martha pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots she had taken of a group chat I was not included in. The messages were dated over the past 6 months, showing detailed planning of their financial manipulation. Mom had indeed created a schedule complete with suggested sob stories and backup plans if I seemed hesitant to send money. I should have told you sooner, but they are my family too, and I kept hoping they would come to their senses. When I saw how cruel they were being last Sunday, I decided you deserved to know the truth. Aunt Martha's confession answered questions I had not even thought to ask. The coordination had been obvious in retrospect, but seeing the actual planning made their betrayal feel even more calculated and heartless. She also revealed that my parents had been telling extended family that I was showing off by sending money, claiming I was trying to make them look bad by playing the generous daughter. They had somehow turned my sacrifice into evidence of my character flaws, poisoning relationships with cousins and other relatives. The legal consultation I scheduled for Monday confirmed what I already suspected. I had no obligation to continue supporting them, and they had no legal recourse to force me. The attorney actually commended me for recognizing financial abuse and taking steps to protect myself. Over the following weeks, the desperate attempts to reach me continued. They showed up at my workplace multiple times until building security banned them from the property. They contacted my friends through social media, trying to convince people that I had abandoned my family during their time of need. But something beautiful began happening as I stopped sending money home. The $2,000 that had disappeared from my bank account every month suddenly became available for my own life. I booked a vacation to California, my first real trip in 3 years. I bought clothes that actually fit and made me feel confident. I moved to a better apartment where I could live alone and have space to breathe. Most importantly, I started investing in relationships with people who valued me for who I was rather than what I could provide. Colleagues who had tried to invite me to dinner for years were thrilled when I finally said yes. I joined a hiking group and discovered a passion for outdoor adventures that had been dormant for years. The friendships I built were genuine, based on mutual respect and shared interests rather than financial dependency. Nobody expected me to solve their problems or fund their lifestyle. For the first time in years, I felt appreciated for my personality, my humor, my intelligence, and my company, rather than my bank account. 6 months after cutting contact, I ran into a family friend at a coffee shop in downtown Chicago. She mentioned that my parents had been forced to sell their house and move into a smaller apartment. Dad had found part-time work that he could handle with his back injury, and Mom had gotten a job at a local grocery store. Marcus had moved back home and was working 2 jobs to pay his student loans. Diana had found cheaper daycare and picked up weekend shifts to cover the cost. The information came with no judgment or expectation that I should feel guilty. This family friend understood that sometimes walking away is the healthiest choice for everyone involved. She told me I looked happier and more relaxed than she had seen me in years, and she was right. The woman I had become was stronger, wiser, and more secure in her own worth. I learned to recognize the difference between people who loved me and people who loved what I could do for them. I discovered that saying no to family manipulation was not selfishness, it was self-preservation. Most importantly, I learned that blood relationships do not automatically deserve infinite forgiveness or unlimited support. Love should be mutual, respect should be earned, and trust should be maintained through consistent actions rather than empty words. The greatest gift of this experience was discovering my own resilience. I had survived the destruction of everything I thought I knew about family, and I had built something better in its place. The chosen family I created through genuine friendships proved more loyal and supportive than the biological family that had exploited my love for years. Looking back, I am grateful that Aunt Martha accidentally sent me that video. Without it, I might have spent years or even decades funding their lifestyle while they mocked me behind my back. The truth hurt terribly, but it also set me free. Today, I live authentically, surround myself with people who celebrate my successes rather than exploit my generosity, and sleep peacefully, knowing that every relationship in my life is based on mutual respect rather than financial obligation. Sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away from people who take that love for granted. Have you ever discovered that people you trusted were talking about you behind your back? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below, because I would love to hear your stories. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more real-life stories about family relationships and finding your strength. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear that it is okay to put yourself first sometimes. Thank you so much for listening, and remember that you deserve relationships built on respect, not exploitation. Take care of yourselves out there.